Hello, 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 everybody. I want to welcome you all today to our client testimonial interview today. Today we have Dale Peters from Toronto, Canada. And Dale, can you just tell the people what it is that you do, your, day to day?
I sure can. Well, my day to day now consists of 2+ hours of reading and meditation for my own personal self. Um, but work wise, or shouldn't I say personal wise, I'm very fortunate. I live with my girlfriend. Who has her own businesses and own travel going on, as well as myself for business. I work in the music business. I help country artists get their songs on the radio, but the other part of my business is helping, whether it's a brand new artist, a mid-range artist, or an older artist. I help them with their social media platforms, helping them get towards playlisting and the streaming properties, and help them build and curate all the stuff and the content for that. And that becomes basically what is called a marketing plan from the good old days. So we structure and help them with their input and their creation in order to build a marketing plan for a album and EP, which includes touring and videos and the whole 9 yards of the music business, and then eventually gets them towards radio. Now, we don't do the radio for them, which we used to do in the past, but now we complete big packages of life, of their live, or sorry, their musical life forward with the current music that they have and how they build that out and what they do. So it's such a big deal nowadays for artists because the internet's changed things that way, and it's been given everybody an opportunity to use these platforms to do great stuff. So we help artists. So we're in the music business. We are also in the A&R business. We're in the consulting business, and we're in the planning business for music.
Cool. Wow, that's dope. That's really cool. I have a lot of friends who are musicians and artists, so that's really cool. I'm gonna link you all. So cool. And so basically, in this testimonial interview, I will just be asking you some questions about your traveling through this program. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first, Dale, my first question is, what was your life like before working with me and me coaching you?
Chaos. I have to say, personally, it was chaos. Chaos right to the point. I knew that last summer in July, I was really at the point of the height of my deep darkness, as in I had anger issues. I was selfish. I've been trying to find ways to help control my own self with speaking when I shouldn't necessarily be speaking, and not as necessarily being mean or hurtful. And it came across with your training later that hurt people hurt other people, and I was hurt because I built all that hurt inside of me from years and years of bottling that up and building walls around me and thinking that because, well, if my mom was like my mom, it's like, well, then everybody's like my mom, as in women. And I built walls around myself, around women, and became hostile to them. Not violent, but I mean, all you need to do is verbally say one word of hurt. That's enough right there. That's more than enough. So I was living in that, and I almost, I blew myself up in the summertime, and it also blew up my family, and it affected directly towards my girlfriend, and it's her family, which she invited me in to be part of that family. So, there was such a big blow up there for the whole family in the summertime that it affected us all. And everybody else had their own stuff too, but I had real issues, which really set me into a place where it's like, wow, it was somewhat there. It felt like a burden was lifted from me when I had this blow up in these discussions with my family, but I knew I was in the deep, dark pits. And then a week later, I talked to friends of Deborah's and mine, which are the Horowitzes, who are big Mayan campers and have been Mayan campers for 16 years since the inception, because it's the I'm forgetting the husband's name, but the husband, Mark, his uncle is the guy who started Mayan Camp and runs Mayan Camp, and you know him, Deron, yourself. So it was a week after all that blow up that they said, well, you should try and check out this Mayan Camp and come to it. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I can do that. And it's a bunch of people who talk about stuff and you fix problems and stuff. But I didn't realize I was going to Mayan Camp to start up to working on myself. I didn't realize that, and then I started, and then I came to your session, and then that was the lid blowing right off. So I went to your session, and you talked about your life and the process and what you're doing and how you move forward. And I thought, oh my God, like I remember leaving your session with another woman, and this woman said to me, and this woman was 60, and said to me, oh, well, she goes like, wow, I wish I would have met Deron earlier. I wouldn't have needed all those years of psychology, right? Or a therapist. And I thought to her, I've been 3 years myself. And yeah, I mean, if Deron is doing what he's doing and he's whatever, 22, and at the time I go like, well, what is a 22-year-old know about any of this stuff? And I kind of sort of like, I was like, well, how dare he, sort of thing. But that's where I was, right? Questioning other people because I was too busy questioning myself. And that was the start of it. And then after your session, then it was lunchtime. I sat down, started having lunch. I'm kind of sitting by myself. You joined the table and you just looked at me and said, like, I told you how much I enjoyed the session. And then you said, well, how can I help you? And I said, no, you didn't say, how can I help you? You said something to point out, and I'm not going to get the right words right, but it's like something to the effect of, so what's your thing? What's going on with you? And then I said, well, I have anger and selfish problems. And I looked at you and you said, well, we should talk. Right. And I said, you said, you said, I believe I can help you. So, and then we talked on the Tuesday, and then it was a litany of questions. It was like, and then some of the last questions I said, well, like, are you in this 100%? Will you do anything and everything possible? And I'm like, yeah, of course I will. Of course I will. Not realizing that I was going to be doing 100%. Right. And then, and then you said, okay, and I was kind of waiting, kind of like, I was going, well, if he doesn't accept me, what do I do? And then it's like, what if he accepts me? What do I do? And I was very fortunate that you took the opportunity to spend time with me. And that's how it felt at first. And then we started getting into the sessions, right? And it was really, it was so much over my head, over my heart, over my whole self. I was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But then session 1 into session 2.
Wait, I have a question. Before you jump into that, one, thank you. And just make sure that when you are touching the laptop that it's not like loud, so that.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
But then, and also, so my question is, so, okay, I hear you. So basically your life was in chaos, and then it was a realization moment. Then you went to Mayan Camp. And for the viewers watching at home, Mayan Camp is basically a creativity and leadership conference where the top experts in creativity and all different fields come together and present their research. So I was asked to speak there, and then Dale came to my session. And I remember you in my session because you were the only person standing. And I remember I like looked at you and I was like, do you need a seat? And you said, no, I'm good. Then I was like, okay. I'm like, damn, he gonna stand for a whole hour? Like in my head. But I was like, okay, hey, live your life. And so now my next question is, so when we got on the phone and, you like, what inside of your head made you say yes to like being a part of this program?
I've been in a position twice in my two other times in my life. This is my third time that this has happened, but twice in my life where I've questioned my life. Twice I almost decided I wanted to commit suicide. I remember those 2 times completely. This is well before I had met Deborah, and I've known her for 9 years. I'm 59, so at 50. So at 50, I was kind of like, it was like, well, this is it. I mean, I was just leaving my second wife. I made that decision. I was having problems with my sister. I was having problems with myself and people in general, and just life and balancing. So it came to me, it was like, this was round 3, where it's kind of like, well, I can try and kill myself, but I didn't kill myself twice before. So I'm not going to do that. And that to me killing oneself isn't being a coward. I think that takes a lot of guts, but I didn't believe that was my route, because I knew that God had I felt God was saying to me, Dale, you can do this work and you will come out the other side so unbelievably enlightened and happy that if you take this shot, give it your all. And that's what was in my head. So the thing that turned me around was like, oh my God, if I don't do something about myself, this is now my third family I'm on, right? I've been through two families, and not that I'm not saying I'm just saying it's just like I love those other two families, but there was always that I was always uncomfortable in some ways. It's not that I'm less uncomfortable because I'm more uncomfortable with myself now. But for me, it was like the reason I did it was like, I do not want to lose Deborah. I do not want to lose my family and my family members, and I don't want to lose my friends. And that's why I stepped into it. I didn't think it was I thought that everybody else was having problems, not me. But I didn't want to reflect on that and bring myself to go, Dale, I'm telling myself, I'm the problem. I'm the reason this stuff has all happened and gone down. I created this, as opposed to pointing the fingers to other people. So that was the reason. It wasn't for me, Deron. It was so I didn't lose my family members, my granddaughters, my sister, my relationships with the people I had outside there in business, right? Because I had some of those relationships were messed up, right? That I messed up for myself because I wasn't pleased with it. So it was due to my family, right? It was the reason.
Interesting. That's so interesting. And so, got it. And so you said that you did it because you didn't want to lose your family. And, because at the time you was like, it wasn't about you because you didn't think you was a problem. Like you thought all these other things were the problem.
Yes.
They were actually just mirrors back to the constant, right? And so, okay, got it. And now, so you signed up. Now walk me through the next, like some things like that you first saw in the first few sessions where you had some realizations, or like what happened next. Walk us through the story.
So first session, I remember going through the first session, and I just was like, I was writing, and it was ears, and I was just listening and writing, and I was just really so excited because it's like it was the first step forward. After you had said yes to me, then I knew I had taken the first step forward I didn't know what kind of clarity I would have. So that was the first thing for me. So then we're into the first session, I'm kind of like, okay. And it was coming out, it's kind of like, well, this is about me. I'm like, and I know that at the end of that first session, even when I replayed that first session over and read through those notes, I'm like, it's not about me, Deron. It's about somebody else. So already I'm going, well, it's not about me, Deron. It's about somebody else. That's session one. And I'm like, session number 2 was all of a sudden like, oh, hang on here. Oh boy, this isn't about Deron. This is about me. Oh, now I got to deal with me. Oh, I didn't like it at all. I didn't stop, but I did not like it. I didn't feel like and I felt in some ways, I kind of felt, how dare this young man bring these tools forward for me, because you weren't pointing me out and you weren't holding me accountable. I had realized as I was working into that third week before the third session that I was starting to deal with myself. And that was a bit of a light bulb moment there to go like, as opposed to kind of going, because you'd already given me some tools to start dealing with those negative rocks that you put piled on the scale. And my negative rock was higher than my head, whereas my positive was on. I'll just say it was on the ground. There was no positive. I didn't see any positive, besides the few good things that ever happened in my life. Besides my love for my girlfriend, not even myself, because I didn't even love her like myself at that point. So going into that third session, then there was I can't remember. It was more talk about scales and then there was some more. I don't want to call them tricks, but more things to take away. And that was from session 3. It really was like, this is about me. This is all about me. And I was just starting to accept that. I just started to accept that fact that like, Deron is giving me stuff to build myself. And then I reflected on it, it's like, okay, so then this is what this is what the work's going to be. The work's going to be on debunking myself, defibrillating myself, whatever the D part is. And it wasn't so much about the D part. It was about, I have stuff. So it's not about the negative stuff. It's about, yes, I have to deal with the negative stuff as they become my old characters. But I had to realize that they were my old characters. And I had to realize, first of all, they were characters. I had to realize that I had characters inside of me. And I always thought, well, there's the good Dale and the bad Dale, the angel and the devil. Well, I realized I got a lot of those, let's say, bad characters, which are devils, if you want to call them. I'm not calling them, I'm just calling them my bad characters. And that session 3, then into session 4, then by the time I got to session 4, then I started applying. I was very timid about it, but I started taking a negative rock. And then it was session 3 into session 4 where I started writing. And I thought with those first writings that because it was about writing about people that had harmed me, and writing that, and then feeling it and breathing through it and thinking through it after I had written it. And then, of course, bringing that around to that point of knowing that I had to forgive myself. And it was at that point I started some mantras for myself, which you encouraged me to move forward with. And one of the first ones is, because it was written right in session 3, is I forgive myself. And then I started going, I forgive myself. I love myself. I this, I that, but they were positives. And there were only 2 or 3. There were only 2 to start. That turned into 3. That's turned into 5. I have 5 pages now of that, right? By the end of session 12. But let's stay with session 3 and 4, because then it was all of a sudden that, okay, I see how this is starting to work. This really is pulling those old character at a time and working on that piece, and then putting that on the positive side. So, because I know that old character would come back again, but at least I had a stronghold of understanding because if the overall umbrella was anger, what were the spokes underneath the umbrella that were holding the umbrella up? And then I was able to pull anger apart and find out what anger was like. And then selfishness, which were my 2 top pieces, and start breaking those pieces down through the following sessions moving forward, because that all kicked in at session 3 and session 4.
Okay. Got you. And so, and then continue walking, me through the story. You kept going through the training, and we get to session 5, 6, 7. Like, it's like the halfway point of the 12-week healing and reprogramming coaching program. What, like, halfway point, what you started to see, what started to come about?
Well, by the middle of the sessions, I was really writing stories like crazy. I was utilizing them. I was learning. I was listening to the recordings we did together. I was looking at my notes. I really decided I'm pouring myself into this. And it was starting to get painful also. The pain had started. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I hurting? Why am I hurting myself like this? Why am I putting myself through this? But realizing that I had tools to work with. I had examples from you. I had encouragement from you, just through talking about the tools and the stuff, in order to apply that. And I knew the pain was going to come, but it just started really. Session 5, 6, boy, that pain was coming. It was like, boy, if Deron would have told me this was going to be this painful, what's the future pain going to look like? And I started doubting myself and started saying, I don't know. And then, through some of the teaching, and, through 5 and 6, some of that stuff, it was just really, I didn't know that pain was going to be there and it was going to be like that. I knew the work was there, but I knew that I didn't stop. I just go. And of course, some of the encouraging part that came through some of the lessons of that early time was like, embrace the pain, love the pain. And I didn't understand that until because I go like, why would I love the pain? Because it hurts me so much. But I did. I mean, just in linear increments, it started to show itself, where it's like, if you love and work on it, it'll take care of yourself. And I started seeing that. And that was the light at the end of the tunnel by 6 into 7 was, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. I know there is. So I just keep going forward, knowing I'm going to have pain. And so then now I'm in 6, I'm into 7, and now the pain's really starting to get there. So almost and of course the information, there's so much good stuff. And now I'm reading through reams and reams of stuff and going over it and overing it, right? And then realizing that, like, oh my God, okay, it's working. Oh, this pain but the pain was a lot heavier than it felt like that there was, there was more pain than there was less pain. And I thought, well, how long is this going to last? And why doesn't it stop? And then I just, of course, use the train and I use the information to just just sit with it, let it settle. And there were times where I kind of like had to I would read my stuff and I wouldn't feel very well. And there were days I took off because I just had to just marinate in that, in that pain and understand that and then break that down. Because what the stories that were about, the first 10, 12 stories were about, not even 10, 12, the first 5 or 6 stories I had written in, from session 3 to 4 were about other people. And that was the resolve I realized after that into 5 and 6 was, oh no, these are stories about myself now. This is about me. I'm writing about me. Nobody else hurt me but me, right? Those other people didn't hurt me. I hurt me. And so that was the beginning of some of the pain in a lot of ways to get to the next level, right? So now I'm kind of like at 7 and 8. Do you have a question there, or should I continue?
Yeah, thank you. So my question is, so when you said that you realized, so the moment that you realized that, oh, all these stories I've been telling other people, like I've been saying to myself that other people did to me, I kind of created these stories. And then you said that when that happened, the pain eased or it intensified. Which one did you say? I couldn't hear
you. It intensified.
And
because it was the realization that I am the problem. And I'll tell you, I did not like that at all. That was a period in a 2-week span I'll never forget, because it was like the real sense of understanding that I was the problem, that I created the problems. That really hurt like nobody. I thought, what a waste of 50 years of my life. That's how it felt, knowing that that's not totally true. But that's how it felt. It felt like my first 50 years of my life, or 55 years of my life was a total waste of energy and time. And why didn't I see this before? And so I got onto myself about it, and I judged myself, and I hurt myself for it, and built a wall around it. Only to find I needed to break that down.
Okay, got you. Thank you for clarifying that, and that is really powerful. Did you come to realize that? Because like I was, telling you in the training, like society thinks that we are this person, we are a static character, and supposed to be the same way our whole life. But when that character keeps wreaking havoc in every aspect of your life, you got to sit down and ask yourself, why is society telling me this? Why am I believing this? And then let me know if I'm wrong, but the pain that you were saying that you were experiencing, was that the pain of seeing where all the roots come from? Was that the pain of the deep realization that I was like, oh, wow, it's painful to know I'm the reason. And the more I dig into this, the more I see that it's all coming from me. Was that the painful part, or was the painful part like addressing the traumas from the past and healing those and working through that? Like what was the like, how would you classify that pain?
What you just said there was, first of all, dealing with the traumas and the pieces of the past life. I hadn't even thought to get to the roots yet. I wasn't even there yet. That roots was a whole different level of pain that I had no idea was going to happen. What happened was I went through all that, the initial traumas, I've been married and divorced 2 times. I went through all that sort of service stuff. I didn't even really get to the roots, which is my childhood and everything like that. And what happened was, once I got through all the surface, traumas, then it just naturally, because part of the lesson is like, once you've dealt with the light, you start dealing with the dark, right? And then so I started dealing with the dark and giving myself permission to open myself up to that deeperness. And that took a little bit of work also, because I was holding back that. I was holding that back to let myself go of that. It was kind of like, well, just hang on here, Dale. Well, you're in this much pain. You know. So it was pain management is what I was dealing with, in a lot of ways. To get to that next level of what your first question was it the root, right? Because it took me to the 8th or 9th session to actually get to those roots, right? It took me that long to get there. And it's not about time, but that's where I was at to get to there. So it brought me to that point where there's then, once I realized that all this surface sort of stuff was happening and all the writings were about me, and then I got to, and I was at like 21 different stories at probably at about that time. And I was adding stories. Now I was adding stories when I had a rock or something I needed to take off negatively, I would write about it right away, no matter where. I think I was doing it. Sometimes I was doing it separately at work, where I was just sort of hiding in the corner and I was doing it. But I realized that if I didn't get to that, it was just going to be something that was going to linger there. And so I started picking those stuff off, giving myself that permission to go deeper. You're okay. If you made it here, you can go the next level. You can go the next level. So then it took me a while to get to those roots, but I finally got there, to where we're probably at 8 or 9 by now.
Continue, yeah.
Shall I continue or?
Yeah. So yeah, like and continue. So then now you're 8 or 9. Now what's happening between 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
8, 9, 11, 12. Well, that, it really kicked in big time when I think I got to 10 to 11. Because 8 and 9 were, it helped me get to the roots and all that. But by I got to 10, 11, I was deep and it was dark. And I was now I already had, no, not yet. I didn't have those 2 dreams yet. But I was in the dark place and it was so painful. Deron, it was painful and hurtful. And I remember having a conversation with Deborah, and she's telling me, you're going through a lot of work. You've never worked harder on this. And she says, but you're also realize that you are also bringing this to us as a couple. And then she opened up and, and talked about how it was affecting her, how I was affecting her, how my reactions and how as I was talking to her and approaching her on stuff. And there was still bits and pieces of anger or, some certain words and stuff. And there was still some of that stuff going on that was affecting her. And it was hurtful. And I mean, I'm so happy that she, was able to gut it out with me that way. I mean, she did. She put herself out there. And there's something I've learned about my girlfriend is I believe that God put me with my girlfriend. I know without a doubt he did. And I know that he put me because she is the mother of mothers, as far as I can. She would literally take the food out of her own mouth to feed her. Anybody else. Kids first, grandkids, but anybody else. If somebody else is in pain, she hurts for it and wants to solve that. And it was that nutrition of finding out what it was like to be a mother, because I always had mother issues, right? So I had issues with her because she was a great mother. So I took out crap on her because she was a great mother. Well, why? Why? So I'm blaming her because of what I went through with my mom, because I created stuff with my mom. And it was all that sort of thing. And then that was so painful and heavy. It wasn't about that I was worried I was going to lose her. I was so worried that I was treating myself and anybody else around me, and especially my girlfriend, with this awful ugliness. It was so awful. And I'll tell you now, those 10 and 11 weeks, and then it continued into, even though week 12, there was a revelation, and I'll get to that in a minute. But that 10 and 11, I've never seen such a pit of darkness before. And I thought, oh, brother. F-U-C-K is what I would like to say, but I won't. It was like, geez, I don't know if I can deal with this anymore. This is just really too hard now. Now this is really hard. Now this is, because my life was affecting others. And that's what happened in summertime, right? Where I didn't think it was my fault. And then I realized. And then for I don't know what happened, but then again, I think it was the session where you had told me to, I think it was 10 or 11, where you said, put your hands behind you and pretend they're eyes, or pretend that screen back there is an eye watching, and it watches through you and forward through you. So it just doesn't go through your eyes, but it comes through you and around you. And that was so profound for me, because all of a sudden it was like, oh, now I'll see myself outside of myself. And that helped calm me down and put me in a place of, I know the darkness is here. I'm dealing with the darkness. Not part of dealing's not the word. I'm working with the darkness to take down those old characters. And I found weeks 10 and 11 and 12, the amount of old character body bags that I had stacked would fill a gymnasium, a football field. It was the killing fields for me. I killed myself more times than I can remember. And it didn't make me cry, but it hurt me. It hurt me because I had hurt others. And those were some of the big ones. It's the people I hurted. And that I realized that I had hurt myself first. And that's what really hit what it felt like the bottom of the barrel, where it was just like, I was killing characters moment by moment. There were 2 weeks there, but it was killing old characters, starving old characters. I even got to starving. I just thought if I killed them, that would be it. But then that realization of, well, you start starving them, they'll eventually get to dust. It'll take time, but they'll get to dust. So you keep killing, like like you had said. It's like, if your old character pulls a knife, you pull a gun. If your old character pulls a gun, you pull a bazooka. I mean, I was at the place where I was Harry carrying, I was tanking, I was nuclear bombing. This was going on sometimes minute by minute, but it really set me up for that revelation of that it's me. I get it. That week 12, all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, because I had a discussion with Deborah, understood where she was coming from. And it was hard. We had an hour and a half talk. It was hard and there were tears. But I had to understand where she was coming from and how I was hurting me, but I was hurting her. And that made more sense to me about how that was all working, how I was hurting me and then how I would be hurting others because I was just naturally lashing out that way. So that by the time we were at week 12, all of a sudden it's that revelation. It's like, it wasn't a sense of necessarily relief. It was a sense of understanding myself. And to understand just a little bit more of myself told me, move forward, keep going, because the next piece was the next portion of the training and the talking that was going to go on between you and I, but it really was the next level of, right? And that really was a turning point. Once I got, for some reason in week 12, it was just, I understood the 12 weeks because I was pounding it into me and I was working hard. And now I was having a family discussion of how I was affecting. And then I realized how I affected others, right? Because it was about me affecting them, right? I affected myself first in order to affect them. And so that was such a bright light that it was like, okay, so. And then I thought at week 12, like, okay, I'm all good now. And then I realized, oh, no, pal, you're good. You're so good. But what you are is you're good because you're working on it and you're digging deep and you're jumping into the head first and you're doing it night and day and you're working it. So yeah, so I'll leave it there because then week 13 and 14 were massively instrumental also.
Got you. So got it. And so basically, and for the people watching at home, Dale said several times he killed a lot of old characters. Just quickly, like what he's talking about is that, in order to become a new person, you have to create a new character because society, tells us that we are a static character and that we have to stay the same way. But the thing is that when that character starts affecting your life and it start affecting different parts, and it's almost like you're doing it, but you can't control it. That's when like you have to create a new character that can vanquish those demons, which is what he was talking about. Those old characters that was affecting his relationship, that was affecting his business, that was affecting different places in his life, his family. And then by killing those characters and replacing those characters with a new character capable of achieving success, that then sets the tone and precedent for the rest of his life. So now you're at the end of the 12 weeks, and have gotten to like training on healing your like past and like clearing that up, and then you've gotten to training on understanding your mind and understanding how to bend reality and how going forward and how to create the reality that you want going forward. Any other realizations that happened after that 12 weeks?
And that was the really realization that you just mentioned right there completely, was that, it was like, whoa, okay. It was all of that understanding that helped me open myself up even more. So it was all of a sudden, it was kind of like I was completely closed like a vault when I started. Now that vault was wide open, and I knew that I could continue to, I just kept opening. I just like, I'm going to blow the walls off the vault now, because I need to open my arms wider. I need to be more open-hearted. I need to continue working, just to kind of, and then all of a sudden I was understanding what empathy really was. That was a watershed moment for me too at week 12. Why empathy? Having empathy for myself, having empathy for others, because all of those 12 weeks brought me to that point of that understanding, because all the stuff that was given to me took time and takes time to let it sink in, because it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I mean, I know that the rest of my life, right, is going to be so glorious, but for where I'm going to get to and the enlightenment that I want to get to is going to take me the rest of my life. And I'm fine with that. But at least at week 12, I knew, oh, of course, that light at the end of the tunnel became a lot like wide, big. It was like all of a sudden I went from a gravel road to I'm on a 5-lane highway now. Now I'm on a big highway, and it's that open so that I can move myself forward for myself and really take all of this stuff in, knowing that I still have to kill those, I have to work on those old characters. But that's where the new character made its revelation for me at week 12. It was the new character that all of a sudden was just like, I'm over here, here I am. And that was like, oh, there is the new character. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like, new character 30%, old character 70%. Well, that, all of a sudden that changes, starts moving. You start feeling that. I start feeling into weeks 1 and 2 of the new sessions that my new character was becoming stronger and stronger, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about 13 and the 14. So then after the 12 weeks, basically where we were at the end of the 12 weeks was that I basically gave you all of the tools that you need to accomplish your mission of healing, and we like worked on it some. And then it was an extra additional 6-week training to manage the downside that comes with creating a new character, because like the viewers watching at home, right? When you go your whole life thinking that you are that person, you will do anything to defend your castle. So, up until the 12 weeks, we've really created this new character, started working towards it, started healing the old stuff, started replacing old characters and patterns. And because each character has a pattern that affects a different part of their life. And so then now the next step was to install the new character, to further deeply install the new character and to override the self-sabotage. When we talk about characters, right, old character, new character, we're talking about like old characters normally the version of you that is self-sabotaging where you're trying to get to in life, which is why you keep doing the same patterns, etc., etc. So then we go through 6 more weeks. That's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now walk me through what happens 13 and 14.
So 13 and 14. So because of that revelation, that really sort of opened the channels into my other top lining things, because I always would stress out about having enough sleep. I was worried about that. I was, because I spent a lot of my time blaming everybody else and everything else. Like, well, the reason I'm not sleeping is because I drink too much coffee, or because I'm not doing well at work, so I would create all these sort of scenarios for myself, anything but to do with myself. But understanding that new character was such a wonderful oasis, and finding like, oh my God, like wow, this is real, this is working. So that opened up more. And then I had 2 dreams, like within 2 weeks, on a Tuesday night, like at 4 a.m. in the morning, almost at the same time, where one was, when I went, I was going towards a stairwell, and there were no lights in the stairwell, and it was to go down, and it only had the generator lights when the power is out. So there was no light at all. And I'm standing at the doorway, and I'm hearing myself going, "You're safe, go down." And I woke up. So I knew I was walking into deeper stuff. Then the second week, next week, right after on a Tuesday at 4 a.m., it was like, I was walking into it. I was driving from a giant highway, and then it's becoming a small highway, and we're getting towards a cave, and then I see a giant white pipe. It looked like an oil pipe, but it was so huge. And I looked at it and go, oh, wow, I'm going to be on that pipe. And then I kept driving, and then before you know it, I was in no lanes on a gravel road going into a deep, dark cave. I remember waking up, going into the darkest part of this cave, no problem, going, oh, I'm in the darkest part of this cave. And then I saw something on the subway that same day when I'm walking, and I saw this little figure of some sort of, it's not a doll, but it's a plastic figure, but it had no head on it. And I looked at it and I'm going, why is this speaking to me? And it was like, get out of your head. And I'm like, oh, whoa. So that was like, whoa. So I have these two dreams back to back. And then I have this, and then it's like, get out of your head. And it's like, wow, if I'm spending that much time in my head, because then that part of the training also of the whole thought process of, the marionette and the strings it pulls and your character in your mind. And that all started taking shape all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, here we go. And this. And then that started taking shape where I started getting, okay, now my new character is really starting to move itself forward. Still having to kill the old characters, right? They're still popping up, but figuring out that those loops are happening and coming to those loops quicker. And you learn this in your first couple sessions. It's the 17-second rule, and understanding that, and understanding what that rule is, what that happens. And you'll probably have to explain that to your people, or to your audience. Hello, audience. But that being said, it was just kind of like, wow, all the training from the first 12 weeks comes right back into shape. Keep moving it forward. You're using it all. You're using it. And that was week 13 and 14 into 15, where I was like, woo, here we go. I mean, it's just like, and then all of a sudden it's just like, my life just changed. It just was changing. It was changing right in front of me. It changed every day. It was changing every week. Ups or downs, it didn't matter, right? But there were way more ups than there were downs. Way more. Or the ups were coming crazy. All of a sudden there came, I had more discussions with my Deborah, and it's like, and then they were different in Joyce in a different way, but then we dealt with some other, some heavy stuff too. But it really came to a round where it's like, I started listening to her more, being more intent, understanding, and really living in the moment, because I've never been a guy to live in the moment. I would say it, I'd wear it on my arm, I'm living in the moment, but I never lived in the moment. I lived in the future or the past. I didn't live in the current. Well, now I knew that I could look at the past, but I could look at the good stuff from the past, because that's what was happening. I was starting to see the good things from the past, not the ugly side of the past. I knew that my present self was doing very well and moving forward and dealing with all of that stuff. I guess that word's not dealing with, but working with all that stuff. And then I also able to see my future and how positive and wonderful that future was and was going to be. So that then helped me to move myself towards my affirmation writings, my identity writings got a lot thicker, because I got all that stuff in those notes from you, and then realized that, oh, am I living Deron's life? Because I was too scared to put my own stuff down. But now, here we are, week 14, 15, I'm writing my own stuff. There I got 3-4 pages of affirmations. My identity became not squeaky clean, but came to be a what it was for me. What were my identity things, not what I was given to live off. And they were great examples that helped me move forward. Then to my goals. Then I was able to create my goals. And then I was looking at the relationship piece of the relationship reprogramming, because I hadn't been there yet, even though that stuff had started happening with Deborah. And then it was we're week 13 into 14 and 15. I think I did talk to you about, the relationship stuff, and then that I had stuff to say to Deborah's boys, which I consider my boys, and I have granddaughters, and I also have a daughter-in-law, I call her, that I've had that I haven't got along well with. And I thought, you just said, look fear and procrastination in the eye. And that's when I understood that week 14 into 15 is that I went and took the leap. I went and reached out into my Deborah's younger son and said, can we have a talk? right? Because he's been very good to spend time with me and talk with me through as long as I've known him, for 9 years. So then I set that up, and I was fearful of that. But then I had a wonderful talk. I mean, he had half an hour for me. He gave me almost an hour because we were so into it. And it was from there I felt like he was so happy to hear it. And then he spoke about some of his stuff, and it was just so wonderful. And then I reached out to my sister-in-law, right? And I said, I'm creating my vision board. I need some pictures. And she got back to me the next day. She said, I'm so happy for you. I'm sending you some stuff. And it was just like, wow. Because what you had said to me was like, just go and talk to them and tell them and let them know what you're doing, and don't expect anything back, because I was always looking for the gold star, right? Or the old rubber stamp. You're doing well, Dale. I already had that inside of me. And what happened was exactly what you said was going to happen. Is it more or less was going to be like, well, then they taught, you know what? I got back stuff from my family. My family that I'd hurt myself and then hurt my family, but they came back with more empathy that I could even give, right? And then those doors have opened up completely. And that has opened so much more to now. I mean, I reached out to my sister and gave her some stuff, and she reached back, and, I can see that relationship solving itself, and us coming together, whenever that happens, because we're doing more than just texting now. We're not talking on the phone, but we're texting. So all those 12 weeks to those next 3-4 weeks opened the doors again. And it was just such again, not a sense of relief, but a sense of, the work, the fact that I'm working so hard is working, right? And then I decided to record my stuff, right? And I recorded all my stuff. And you know what? And then, so now I recorded the stuff. Now I'm listening to it. And I'm driving around listening to it, and I'm walking and I'm listening. So I'm doing more listening and more reading, right? Or I was doing a little less reading, but more listening. And that was so impactful for me. That was just such amazing, because it really, and we talked about it earlier off camera, but when you use my brain, but that's what I was doing to myself. And brainwash is a negative connotation to me, but I didn't brainwash myself. What I did was I worked on myself to get myself to that point. And that to me was a sense of victory. I felt taller, I walked taller. My confidence levels, which were building anyway, continued to move themselves upward and forward. And I didn't have to click into them. I didn't have to key into them. I didn't have to think about them. They were starting to happen naturally.
Okay. And thank you for that. And so now my next question is, so throughout the whole training, like just the whole time, what were other people around you saying? Like, did people start to notice any differences about you? And if so, what did they say, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I've spoken about my girlfriend already, and then there were conversations there. So she lived with it, right? And she lived through all the ugly stuff too. But she lived through it and was patient, and then was able to verbalize it when she felt safe enough. And I really appreciated that. And that's a pretty big deal for the love of your life to feel safe enough to actually talk to you about that stuff. And that was a realization too. That was pretty heavy. It's kind of like, wow, I made her feel unsafe that way. Boy. That's not what love's about, right? That has nothing to do with love or liking a person or anything. It's hurting a person hurting another person. So that was good. But then there were people in my work site, and I have one guy I've been working with 10 years who's like, "What's going on with you? You're different here. Where's the old angry Dale? Where's the old?" I go, "Well, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm changed. I'm doing this." I reconnected with another guy that I hadn't seen in 8 years, or 8 years. I'd better talk to a person, and I had talked to him in 5 years, and I had a meeting with that person this week. It looks like I'll be working with this guy, right? Because it was kind of like I never expected that to happen, and that's happening a lot, where people are just kind of like, "Well, you're different," or it seems like people are gravitating to me because they want to ask me something or talk about something. And I'm finding also that I'm doing a lot of listening, but I'm doing a lot of hearing. I'm actually paying attention and hearing the other person across from me, and now people are confiding in me where I wouldn't have expected that before, because they feel safe to confide to get it out. And I'm not giving an opinion back unless they ask, right? And in most cases they ask us, they go, well, how come you're so different? Why is this change for you? And I mean, and it doesn't matter if the person is, because I have people in all ages. I work with a 29-year-old who sees it around me and sees me changing. I had a younger woman come to me and go like, well, how are you different? Because I've worked with her as an artist on the loose side before. And now she's interested. She's actually going to go to Mayan Camp. She wants to know, like, how do I deal with all my stuff? If you're dealing with your stuff, well, what's the trick? What are you doing? And I'm able to witness with that also at the same time, but also with my older friends. I mean, I have an older couple, a couple that are my age that I'm working with, who's a very established artist in Canada, and his wife, who is a brilliant, kind, loving woman. She's interested. She's asking, like, what happened? What's going on with you? I see a change. You're not that person. You're this now. Like, what are you doing? What's going on here? What's happening that's happening? Like, how can I do that? And so that's been so remarkable to see all ages, men and women. And now I don't categorize. I'm not afraid of myself to be afraid with women anymore. Or I don't put them in that place where it would be necessarily a negative connotation towards them, because I had such problems with my mother. All right. Because I certainly don't treat guys that way. Well, I don't treat women that way now. Everybody's a human to me, right? They're not. It's not gender. It's not gender related. It's about everybody is a human, and everybody, as in the teachings, are angels to me. Everybody's an angel to me, good or bad. It doesn't matter to me now. Everybody's an angel to me, whether I know them, whether I don't. And now I'm a lot more aware. I mean, I'm a lot more aware also. I'm a lot more aware of my surroundings, of who I'm around, of what I'm around, of just the situation I might be in, of understanding that I'm waiting for the bus, and understanding, well, and looking around and actually enjoying the moment I am in there, and the nature and and that. I have to, can we pause? I have to blow my nose.
Yes, definitely. All right, and we're back. So, so now, from, 15 to 18 on, just tell me and tell the viewers watching at home, what transformations have you seen? And did the program help you with what you initially came to me for?
Well, what I initially came for, I'd be honest, I thought I was just going to cure anger and selfishness, but I cured whatever those old characters are. I am starving the living daylights out of them, and my new character is so much stronger. I'd say that we're getting 70-30 now. I mean, so the exact opposites happened, like the old characters were ruling the world, whereas then the new character now is ruling the world. And I am becoming, my lowest standard is becoming my highest dream, and I continue to move that forward. And so that, I am not, the person when I started 18 weeks or whatever it was ago, that's a different person. That's like a movie to me, that I don't know that person. I really don't, from Summertime. I have no idea who that person is, because all I have now inside of me is just pure joy, love, and happiness for myself. And now, because I have that, now I get to pass that on to other people. I get to understand, and I understand, and because I understand myself better, and I don't know I don't know if there's more darkness in there, and if there is, I know how to work with it. I know how to bring it forward. And I had a situation this week, a financial thing, which was really kind of traumatic for me and stuff like that. But you know what? I found myself having to use all of my tools and elements in order to not deal with it, but work with it and work through it, to where by resolving it and taking care of all that, I was able to sleep through those 2 nights like a baby, right? It was sound sleep. It was like, I resolved it. I knew I'd fixed it, knowing that, well, those problems are still there. So I get it, but what do I, now I know what to do with it. And because of where I am now, I'm at that point right now where I have everything in front of me. The last 2 weeks have been so incredible, both personally, and my business has blown up beyond what I could ever have imagined, ever. Well, I've been working on a concept for quite a while of helping artists with their social media platforms, their playlisting, and creating plans for them. So it came to me that, I mean, that's such a big part of what's going on. Well, we've been doing this for 3 years, but now we've got major companies coming to us. I mean, you know, we've got the third biggest publisher in the world that has invited us to come and do a test market with them and find out what they can learn from us, but what we can do with them. You know, I would, you know, and that's because of this relationship with this guy I hadn't talked to in 8 years, and we fixed that all up. But he goes, well, you have something we need. You know, I'm talking to people now in the States who are going, well, we're interested in what you have, right? What you supply, what you can do for us, right? You know what? And it's on the terms of what I've created for my business that I've been building from the last 3 years. And then my relationships, excuse me, over the last 25 years or 32 years, should I say, in the music business I've had, which are all coming around because what we have, nobody else is doing, nobody else is striving to do, but there are people around us who are kind of going, well, we better look at what they're doing. So we're really leading the way that way, where I'm being invited to more things. I'm speaking on panels now more. I'm speaking more to people because they want to hear about my life story, but they also want to hear what's happened with you. How has your business changed? How have you changed? So it's become all very full circle in that way, where, you know, now it just, I mean, because I tell myself that I know I'm a good businessman, and I know I'm smart, and I know I have something to offer. By telling those and really putting that inside my system constantly, I believe that now. I know that. I'm not surprised at the growth of the business. I'm not, because I've targeted it. I'm working towards it, right? I have my numbers. I've got my pieces around me. I've got all the constantly reminders of, this is where you're going. This is where you're going. It's not how do you get there. It's where you're going to. You find ways to get there because you're building yourself towards it. That's what the work is. But if I wouldn't have put all the hard work in, I wouldn't be anywhere near this place now. And now I'm at a place right now where I am now just getting to marinate in all of this, because now there are other pieces of my life that I'm able to now pick out those negative pieces, which are smaller, are the super small ones now, because I got little pebbles now. I got little rocks in my head. I don't got giant boulders as much now. There's smaller rocks, but I'm able to work with them too in conjunction. And because of the way I feel about myself and the attitude I have, the confidence I have, the love I have, that's coming through naturally. People are seeing that, and they're coming to it. They're drawing to it. I had 2 women come to me yesterday, I introduced myself to one woman, but she is like, she wanted to talk to me. And then this other one next to her, and there was a conversation all of a sudden of just about life, not even business. Even though we were doing business, we started talking about business, but it was just like, well, how do you deal with stuff? And why are you like, how come you're always smiling and you're so happy? You know, when you get people out of the blue asking you that sort of stuff, you're on the right trail. And I know I am. And that's the difference now between where I started and where I am now, is I know who this person is right now, right? And I know everything else about this person, me, right? And now it's me, and it's me not dealing with me, but me being me. And I feel more solid about being me, right? I know there's characters, old characters. I know there's a new character, but the new character is shining through, and I feel like that new character. I know the old ones are still there, and I'm going to work on those, because they're always coming up. They come up at the weirdest times and the oddest times, and they're sneaky little But you know what? The key is to continue the working on and understanding. And now I'm understanding more pieces of my life in those loops of catching them, right? And catching that loop at the beginning and going, I know how this turns out. I've been here so many times before. Okay, let's deal with this here, right? Move that, right? And you've given me some great breathing exercises, which have been valuable beyond words, to be able to settle oneself, prepare oneself, to just be oneself. And if you're not having, I find if I'm not having a great day, or things aren't going well, and I'm having to do extra work for myself, just do the work. I take the time for myself. And that has also helped my business. By doing that, it's given me better clarity, better understanding. It's given me more empathy for myself, but then for my clients. And now I'm digging deeper into the client's world. And that's phenomenal because clients have never been treated like this before. That's what we're being told, right? We're being told, wow. And it's hard for people when you start going deeper with people, right? Especially when people aren't dealing with themselves, or they aren't. And I'm not judging. That's just how it comes across. You can hear it in their language. You can hear how they talk about stuff, how they talk about themselves, and that's a whole side that I'm not on anymore. And I understand that, but I don't have to say anything about it. I can just listen and let them talk. And so the fact that I'm so wide open has opened everything then. Now has opened the whole world. And and I know that's going to open even farther, even bigger and greater, right? Because it's not just scratching the surface. It's about living on the surface more than scratching it. I'm not scratching anything anymore. I'm living it. And that has been so amazing. And that's the part right now where I get to marinate in it, because I'm living it, I'm marinating it, and that is creating the growth for myself personally, my business, my relationships, because the relationship pieces totally turned around. And so now it's coming in other ways and other personal stuff, which I expect, I know, I'm ready for, but now I really get to enjoy that and be even more a part of it, because my life is becoming completely, the journey of myself is so inside of me and personal. Now it's becoming it's not just I'm working on myself for a few hours a day. Now it's taken over. I'm working on myself constantly. And I'm actually had a glimmer just yesterday of, oh my God, I didn't even realize I'm working on myself without even working on myself. So all the stuff, all the listening, all the reading, all the teaching has so impacted me that I have done exactly, and what's happened to me is exactly what you said was going to happen. You said it in week 1, you said it in week 7, 8, whatever. You said it in week 18. You said all of a sudden it's going to start happening. Now I know it's just small, but you know what? If you don't start small, you don't ever get there. And that's the key. Continue to work forward. And that's what I'm excited about. Now I'm even more excited to do more work and more stuff and find that stuff. I mean, it's an elevation. I'm already starting to levitate, and I don't even realize I'm levitating. I don't even realize it. It's now I'm getting to the point where I can tell my story, but I sometimes have to stop because I don't have words to explain where I've come. Where I know where I've come from, but to explain how I feel now and what's going on now, it leaves me speechless. It leaves me humble. It leaves me patient. It leaves me in a place where those things that I first started to work on, right, became part and parcel of the whole enchilada of who I am.
Woo! That's on fire.
It sure is.
So thank you, and so thank you for explaining that to us. And so now my next question is, what would you say, if you can say, what would you say was the most transformational part of the training?
The most? The most. The realization that I was the problem. Knowing that I was the catalyst to everything that has happened to me, that will happen to me, period. Personal, business, all of it. It's on me. And that's a great place to be. To know it's me, it's my decisions, it's what's happening for me. That is the biggest revelation for me, that I am the conductor of my own train completely. We go fast, we go slow, we stop. I know it's an analogy, but it's the best one I can come up with. But that to me is it. And to know that people see it with mouth. I don't ask people. I just do. I live my life. But people are coming to me and they're talking and they're asking questions and I mean that is so satisfying. But at the same time, I know that I'm doing the work, and it was the work too. the fact that I saw, you know, my girlfriend would say, boy, you are working. I've never seen you work so hard in your life. And of course, now I apply that to my business too, right? So, I mean, it's kind of like now but it's a part of my vernacular. I don't see it as work. I don't see working on myself as work. I see it as this is my life. That is, maybe that's even the bigger piece of all this, is that I realize that my life's work has only begun for myself. And that if that shines to others and they want to tell me or they want to listen to me, I'm open for it always. I'm always going to be open for that because I've blessed myself by staying with the program of working on myself. And for all of you out there who might have those doubts or those feelings, the work pays off. You cannot imagine. You told me, Deron, in weeks, I don't know, 13, 15, or 40, whatever. You'd always would tell me every week. You were just like, you just wait till the next week. Every week there was always something new and exciting. And maybe it was difficult to deal with it or work with it when it was happening. But it just, you really did. It was, you know, the world is that saying, the world is your oyster. It really is, because it's your oyster. And you kept saying, you didn't necessarily say that, and maybe you did, but you just said it gets grander and bigger, and it was, you know, and you were so encouraging and exciting and so pumped about it, and it's kind of like, well, this guy's living it. This guy's living it. There's there, like, if this guy's living it, then he's showing me, well, I can live this, and I'm living it. I'm living proof of this right now. I mean, it's renders me not speechless, but speechless at the same time. And so I don't, did I answer the question? I don't know if I did.
That was perfect. Cool. And just a few more questions to wrap up here. Is that, you know, what would you say to someone who, you know, is interested in joining my 12-week healing and reprogramming coaching program, but thinks I'm too young to help them? What would you say to them?
Well, if anything I learned from the young part is that when I first saw you, I was like, this guy's 22. Like, what does this guy know? Well, this guy, Deron, knows because he did the work to get there, right? So it doesn't matter how young you are, right? And I think the younger you are, the better off you are to have this work, these sessions, these tools, because you'll be able to kill off a lot of characters before they even start growing. And I think that's one benefit. But B, just to deal with whatever you are as a young person. And I don't know what that's like now. I'm 59. I knew I was as a kid, I did pretty well. I was good. I was in a loving home. I didn't have any problems. I had a roof over my head and food. And I wasn't bullied. I mean, I was a fat kid in school, but nobody bullied me. I was just sort of the forgotten kid. And that, I put myself in that position. But anybody that's young out there, you know what? If you think that you want to be who you want to be, this sessions or package or whatever work you can do with Deron will really pay off for you, because it'll show you a side of your own light inside of yourself and happiness that will render you speechless. And it will, you know, and that's saying for anybody that's older. Yes, what's the saying? A zebra can change its stripes or whatever, or its dots or whatever. A zebra can, or, you know, but you really can. You can change yourself. I'm living proof of it. And if you'd asked me this 18, you know, in September, I've said, no way in heck this was going to happen. There's no way. But here it's living proof. Doesn't matter what age you are. If you've got stuff, and everybody's got it, and some people deal with it well. But if you need help, this is where you go. You go right here. You go to Deron, or you go to the place where you know you can get help for yourself, because it's about yourself. It's not about what somebody else thinks about you. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you. Help yourself by helping yourself.
Got you. Thank you. And my next question is, what would you say to someone who, you know, want your results that you get in, which is a changed life and an openness and like really connecting with that source inside of yourself and healing yourself and becoming a different person and living that through your business, through your relationships, and everybody seeing that. What would you say to somebody who wants those same results, but they're afraid of the pain that they have to go through with facing their dark side? What would you say to them?
I'd say what you said to me. Face the fear. Face the fear. Because the fear is not going to, the thing about fear is it can only hurt you if you let it hurt you. That's the thing about fear. Procrastination is not about doing something because you are possibly fearful. Or procrastination is just procrastination. If you're a lazy person, you're a lazy person. I get that. I understand that because that's your thing. I get it. But this has nothing to do with your inner self. You don't procrastinate on your inner self. If I would have known that this was an opportunity for me, would I have been ready in my 30s or 40s? Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. But here I am now. This is my life now. I would just say, you know what? It is scary and it's going to hurt. But it's probably going to be the best pain you'll ever go through. Because you know what? It's your pain. It's your individual pain, and you get to do something about that. That's the beauty of it. Knowing that you will have everything you need in your hands by facing the fear, by working with the things that are given to you, as in the tools, the 12-week session, that sort of thing. That to me is it. Knowing you have all the gear. You literally have, I have so many toolboxes and pieces on my body through my thing. It's all toolkit. My whole body's a toolkit of stuff. I can just dig in and get this one or that one. I know what to do, right? But once you start doing that work, it comes down to a X month. You take all those tools, they just kind of wrap themselves all together, and before you know it, you're just using it's it's like you're doing one tool that does all, that Phillips, that screwdriver that has all those heads on it, right, that you can put in. That's what that becomes. All those tools becomes one screwdriver, and then the pain starts lessening, because once you get into the deepest part of the pain, it hurts, trust me, it goes away, it subsides, it starts lessening and lessening and lessening because you're doing the work. And that is how you deal. That's how I dealt with the pain. I mean, I didn't deal with it. I became a part of that pain to understand the pain. Understanding your pain it's a watershed moment. It will be for you if you do it. And so, and believe in yourself. Believe that you can handle the pain, because you can. Compared to a lot of things in the world, you can handle the pain. Because if it's inner pain, it's good. It will stop you. It might give you, it gives you the opportunity. It'll give you, you might have to take days off. You might have to take long walks. I don't know. You might want to have to eat a bucket of ice cream. I don't know. But go and don't deal with the pain. Become part of that pain to understand the pain. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you face the pain, you said, as soon as you face the pain, well, then the pain starts going away. And it does. You face it. You work with it, and then it starts fading away.
Yes, thank you. And so, thank you for that response. And so, it's kind of like, yeah, like when you're growing yourself and healing is like you're burning yourself on the inside. But what happens is, like, just like in nature, right? When mass fires happen, all that ash is the perfect growing condition for like new plants. And so it's the same thing. Like, by you healing yourself and like doing that, that is painful and that is a little bit, but it is setting the stage, right? It's setting the precedent for new things to grow and for new light to grow. And so it's beautiful. So now my last question is, so one, what tips would you give people for success in this program? Like, cause you like had a lot of success. So what are some things that you did behind the scenes outside of the coaching sessions that really, set precedence for this?
In a word, work. In a word, work. It's utilizing everything that has been given to me and work it. And that was the key. Once I really made that final mental, and it was that mental step of, you know what, if I do the work, I will see the results. And I tested that out earlier on, and I saw that earlier on in sessions 3 and 4 and 5. Okay. And then kind of reeled back, but do the work and just And don't be afraid of the work. Do the work, and do the work morning, noon, and night. And that's the thing that I would redo now if I was. I would not just, from sessions 1 through 3 or 4, that I think is such a crucial time right there of that. And that's where I wish I would have done it X amount of time in the morning, taking some time off on my lunch, doing some stuff before I go to bed, because I didn't do that. I only did my stuff in the morning, and I thought, okay, well, that's good. I'm good for now, right? But those awful characters, they live with you 24/7. They just kind of wait and hide until they feel there's a time to kind of go and get you, right? It's how you'll see, audience. You'll see what that's like. But I mean, it's the work. Do the work and go to the work sooner, and do as, dedicate X amount of time and do it morning, noon, and night. Because I think the span of, it'll help your sleep, number 1. It'll change your dreams, number 2. Because I found that a lot of the dreams I was having, boy, they were answering a lot of the things currently that I was working on right to that point. So do the work, and do it hard and heavy right from the beginning, because things will happen faster. And then that's not the key. The key isn't because you need to do it fast. The key is to understand yourself better so that you can latch on to the next thing. Because let's not forget, whatever life you've had, you're creating a whole new life for yourself now. This is a page turner. This is a chapter turner for you. This is a whole nother issue of your addition to your book. Once you start with this piece here, right? You literally change everything. Everything around you happens. It changes everything. And by doing the work, it will not just speed up the process, but it'll help you understand yourself more, so that you can get to that deeper dark side. And if you're afraid, well, then you will be able to handle it, because you've done that extra work. And that's, I think, what caught me off guard, is that and I look at it in hindsight, and I'm not judging myself, but if I would have done more work, I think that, that those darker sides might not have been as dark. I might have been able to handle those deep feelings, maybe in a more of a balanced way for myself. And that's hindsight, I get it. But if I had to do it over again, I would be pounding down the work morning, noon, and night.
And then my last question, the last question. How much is this program worth to you? And then you can answer that in every way: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it touches on all the levels that you just said there, right? First of all, on the monetary side, right? For the amount of money that I don't remember what the total amount of money was, but on top of it, I'm in Canada, so my dollar is worth 74 cents to your dollar. So I spent more money. But you know what? I saw it as I saw myself investing in myself. So I made sure that because I had the first batch round of money. I didn't have the second. I had to go get that, but that was fine, because I knew that I knew where I needed to go. I knew and you said to me in the first time we talked about, and when you evaluated whether we'd be working together, you said, "Are you willing to do anything?" You didn't say money. You said anything and everything. And I dedicated myself to that. And I thought, you know what? For the amount of money I might spend on going to Mexico and laying in the sun, right? It's the equivalent. I didn't take a holiday, but I took a holiday for myself to make myself into a great holiday. I really did. So the monetary side of it, I think that it's worth the money. And what I feel now, it's worth more than the money that I spent. I could spend double that, and I would have, because I would have spent double to feel like the way I am or where I am now. I would have, honestly. I mean, whatever that price is, it doesn't really matter to me. But it's investment in yourself, because we spend a lot of time with money on investments and things, and maybe we buy a new car, or we buy a membership, or we have season tickets or whatever. I mean, and that's all cool. Those are all special things for yourself. But really, when you spend money on yourself, that's untouchable, right? To help your inner core self. So there's that level. Then there's a level of the personal side, and the joy that you will bring yourself by helping yourself get to where you want to go, to where your highest dream is only your now just your medium standard. You know, I mean, that's a big leap, but that's on the personal side. When the relationship side starts working, you will work on those relationships because you realize it's you that needs to draw from yourself in order to work on those relationships to make them better. I mean, it gave back to me gatefolds, just a giant world that I would never anticipated or understood. And knowing that whatever I'm going through for myself, other people are going through their own stuff, right? You know, it's like not everybody's talking about me or thinking about me, but if they are, that's great. But you don't worry about that stuff. You don't worry about other people, right? And that's the other thing about other people is other people are angels. So you take that in. You don't worry about them. You don't worry about if they're talking about you or not talking about you. That's just that's your own self inside. And you get to work with that. So then there's the family side, you know, and then there's the professional side, you know, because all the personal stuff you've done for yourself or your family, you bring to your professional side. You'll see that your professional side will grow. If not just, you know, in dollars and cents, it will grow in relationships. It will grow in contacts. It will grow in bringing you to another level of excitement in your own job, you know. And if you don't love your job, you should. But if you don't, maybe you'll find a way to love your job, or maybe you'll find the job that works for you, right? You know, and build upon that. And it's about your own, right? And you'll really feel that. At least I feel that. I feel that the business I've created is really my own now. And I've had this business for 18 years. And I never felt it was my own. And why is that? That's because I decided it wasn't. But I know it's mine. I know it's mine. And that's so freeing. It's unbelievable. So all of these things meant, you know, and so then it's just not mental and personal, and so it's all of these things come together in one grandiose package that you just be able to live your life and work with your own personal life forward, where it just becomes all the things you do is just natural. And I'll tell you, people are going to flock to you like crazy because it happens. So I have benefited in every way possible, and I would probably say in ways I don't even understand now. I would believe that my future and the marinating I will be doing in the future will really bring me to other places and other levels that I couldn't have dreamed about. Because you've told me, it's like you get to levels and places you never dreamed of. Well, I've already seen that. So you only want more because it's exciting. You wake up excited. You go to sleep excited. I mean, to live with my own excitement because I'm not stimulating the excitement, because I'm not doing stuff in order to create excitement for myself, as in, or dumbing it down by using, you know, whatever you might do to do that. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, I have a goal of losing X amount of weight, and I've lost a bunch of weight already. I'm not even trying. And I'm not exercising more or eating any different. Well, I've changed my diet, but now the weight's falling off of me. So it's a weight program also at the same time, you know, because I'm confident, because I'm doing things for my health, because I feel and see myself differently. So I've benefited on the health sides also. When you benefit on the health sides, I mean, oh my God, it's like, so it really is, it's all encompassing.
Wow, incredible. Thank you. And you know, now, what are your next steps in life? Like, what do you plan to do next with your life, and how do you plan to take this training and marinate in it with the rest of your stuff?
So next step in life for me is, so I've already, I've changed my identity and my goal. My identity pieces have changed. My affirmation pieces continue to grow and change. Where some I don't use as much as anymore, but there's other ones that have become stronger that I'm working on. My goals have changed for both my personal self, my professional self, my family side, and of course those now have become, those now are, I'm creating new ones there. So it's going to be a continuation of that. It's just going to be a continuation of growing every day, every moment, to every day, to every week, to every month, to every year, so on and so forth. Because I know that the opportunity for me is unabashedly endless. There are no roadblocks. I have nothing. I'm not standing in front of myself anymore. I am myself, and therefore I can do anything I want. It is almost to that point, and it's taking me this long to also feel it, that it's like I am godlike in my own self. Of course, I'm a God and Jesus person. I'm a Christian, and I believe in, and I don't take anything away from that. But I feel like a God unto myself only. Whereas I didn't feel like I was even a shell of a man before. And I mean, you got to start somewhere by feeling like you are a shell of a man or you are a shell of a woman. You have to know your inside shell in order to do that, and that's where the work comes in. But now I feel like, okay, now how do I build upon that? What's my next dream? What's my next goal? What's my next affirmation? So that's where the beautiful work continues, which isn't even work, which is just now lifestyle. That was the aha moment I had yesterday. It's like, wow, this is your lifestyle now. This is what you do. This is the word second nature. I don't know what first nature is, but this is who you are now. You know, still deal with that stuff, but I mean, this is who you are over here. This is it, right? And that's, you can't put a price on that. It's the highest star you can ever reach. What's the highest star? Well, what's that star? Well, what's the next one after that? I mean, if this good to be on this star, what's my next star going to look like? What do I do to work towards that? And that to me is my own inner excitement has never been more palatable than it is now. I've never felt freer or better. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Cool. Well, that was a beautiful testimonial. And thank you, audience, for listening to this, and for those people who Adele's story message really resonated with them, and you want to see if you would be a good fit for my 12-week healing and reprogramming coaching program, and to see if I can help you. Number one, this video, like, you can message me on Facebook, or like if I'm this on YouTube, you can schedule the call link to just schedule a 15-minute chat or a 1 hour chat with me to see if I can truly help you. Dale, it has been such a pleasure working with you. Um, like, I mean, I was always excited, like you said, every session. And I like told you right before we started recording that once we had that first talk in September, I looked out into the future and I visualized this testimonial video. So it was like um, boom. It was a full circle for me as well. And so I'm so happy that you not only got the results that you came in for, but it completely changed everything. It like took everything to the 10th level. And if you're that kind of person that wants that same kind of transformation and change and are willing to put in the work, willing to invest in yourself, willing to, through hell or high water, get the shit done, message me and we'll talk. All right, Dale, you be smooth out here, and I'll talk to you later, man.